Hello everybody, welcome back to another Scratch tutorial from my coding place. Today we're going to be learning how to make a Google dinosaur game like you might see if you have no internet on Google Chrome, where we have obstacles that come towards our player, and if the player touches them, then we get a game over. So without further ado, let's get started. So you'll see right over here on my almost blank project, we have our player as my little dog dot. We're going to have our buildings as our obstacles, and we're going to have our background, which isn't going to do anything with code, but it looks nice and pretty, and it makes the game look a lot better. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to have our player, that's our dot sprite for me, could be anything for you. We're going to have this player, and we are going to put, before anything else, a when green flag clicked event, and a forever loop right under that. And the first thing we're going to code, it's going to be one of the hardest things for us to code. It's going to be making our character jump. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get an if, then, and else. And what this is going to do is it's going to help determine whether our character is on the ground and we can jump, or if we're in the air and we need to start falling. So the first thing we're going to notice whenever I go back to my character right here is that I'm at y negative 70. And that basically means that I'm on the ground right here, and that's where I want to be whenever I'm on the ground. So we're going to say if my y is more than negative 70, so we're going to change this to negative 70, and I'm going to get my y position block from motion. And this just means that if we're above the ground, then we can make us start falling. To make us start falling, we're going to need a variable. We're going to call this speed, or you can call it y speed or vertical speed. You can call it whatever you want, but it should make sense with the rest of the game. So we're just going to call this speed. And whenever we are above the ground, we want to start falling. So we want to make our speed negative so that we start going towards the ground. On the other hand, if we are on the ground, then we want to make sure that we don't fall through the ground because that would be bad. So if we're um, lower than negative 70 or we're at negative 70, then we are going to put some blocks that keep us there. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make sure that if we're at negative 70 or below, we're just going to make sure we set y back to negative 70. And we're also going to set our speed variable to 0 so that we don't keep falling through the floor. All right. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we want to be able to jump. And since we already made our speed variable, this isn't going to be that hard. To be able to jump, that means we just want to have a positive speed so that our dog will go up. And then whenever it's in the air, its speed is going to go back down, so it falls right back down. So we're going to get another if then, and this one is going to have two conditions because we want to be able to jump only whenever certain things happen. So that means we're going to get an and from operators first before anything. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to sense if space is pressed, or whatever key you want to press to jump, but I'm going to use space, and if our y equals 70. So we're going to go to y position again for motion. We're going to go back to operators and go to equals, and we're going to turn this 50 back into negative 70. And then I'm just going to stick that right in here. Okay. And then it's going to be really simple. All we have to do is go to variables, and we're going to set speed to, let's do 25, so we're able to jump over the building. So now we need to do one more thing to make our dog be able to jump. So we need to be able to use the speed variable that we've been setting, and we are going to use it to change y by whatever our speed is. And that speed is going to change a lot throughout the course of the game. That's why we made it a variable. So we're going to change y, and then inside of the speed, inside of the 10 where it says, we're going to replace that with speed. So now, whenever I play the game, it should work. So now I jump, and whenever I hit the ground, I stay there, and I can keep jumping as much as I want. Okay, great. Now we're going to go to our buildings, and our buildings are going to be a lot simpler. So this is just going to be some cloning code, and we're going to start again with a when a green flag clicked event, and a forever block right underneath that. And we are just going to wait some time and make a clone of the building. And that clone is going to move towards our character. So I'm going to get another event when I start as a clone. It's going to be in control. And we're going to do another forever. And we just want it to, we're going to go to motion. And we just want it to move towards our player. So that's going to be moving to the left, which means we're going to be changing our x by a negative value. So we're going to do change x by -10. Okay? And now, as you see, when I press play, we have buildings that come towards us. But you notice this isn't perfect, so we're going to fix that up really quick. So we're going to make it really quick so that if the buildings are touching the edge, like you saw that they were getting built up there, we are going to delete the clone. So now I'm going to go to sensing, and right up here where it says touching mouse pointer, we are going to change mouse pointer to edge. So now whenever it touches the edge right here, whenever it gets to the other end, it's going to delete the clone. And then the most important thing that we have to do is we have to detect whenever our buildings are touching our player, because then that means we have a game over. So we're going to go back to my player, and in our forever block, I'm going to add one more if-then statement right at the start. It can be wherever you like, but I think it would be best if it went at the very beginning. So we need to sense if our player is touching the building. And then we can tell the game to do a game over. So how we're going to do that is we are going to broadcast a message, and I'm going to call it game over. And what we're doing when we're broadcasting a message is that we're telling all the other sprites in the game that something has happened, and we need to do whatever we want whenever that message happens. So whenever we have a game over, we want everything to stop. So when I receive game over, we're going to change message 1 to game over really quick. There we go. When I receive game over, this is going to be really simple. We're going to go to control. We're going to stop everything so that we can't jump anymore because the game's over. We can't do anything else. We're going to do the same thing in our buildings. So I'm going to go to events. When I receive game over, stop all. Okay? And then we're going to make one more sprite. So I'm just going to make some text on this button. Okay, that looks great. So now we just want this to be able to show up really big on the screen. So I'm going to change the size to 500. So I'm going to increase it by 5 times. And now we have this new sign that's going to show up only whenever we get a game over. So I'm going to go to when green flag clicked. I want to make sure this is hidden. I don't want this to show up every time we start the game. I want it to show up whenever we end the game. So when green flag clicked, we are going to put hide right under that. Okay? Now I'm going to go to back to my events and back to when I receive game over. Then we're going to go to, instead of stop all like we did for the other 2 sprites, we're going to go to show. And now we have this completed game. If we did everything right, then whenever we press green flag, we should have this fully functioning game. Okay? And let's see, whenever I touch the building, everything freezes. And I can start again just by pressing the green flag. Okay. I'm going to show you guys how to do one more thing to touch this up a little bit, and it's going to involve another when green flag clicked event in our dog. So what this is going to do is we're going to introduce a score variable so we can keep track of how good we do in the game. A higher score is going to mean that we survived a longer time without getting hit by the buildings. Okay, so let's make another variable. Let's call it score. And we're going to do another forever loop right under this when green flag clicked button, just like we did right here. And forever, we are just going to wait a second, and then we're going to increase score by 1. So for every second, we get 1 point for score. Change score by 1. I'm also going to hide my building and put show right before the forever block when I start as a clone, so that we don't have a building just standing there. And one more thing that's going to make this game a lot more fun is instead of waiting 1 second between each building, that's going to get really predictable and really easy. So we're going to choose a random element to it. So let's make it 2 to 6 seconds between every building, so you're not exactly sure what's coming next each time. And with that, we just need to do one more thing, and that's to reset our score whenever we press our green flag. It doesn't really matter which green flag event you put this under, as long as you put it under one of them. I'm going to put it in our main script for our sprite, and we are going to set score to 0 whenever our green flag is clicked, so that our score doesn't carry over between games. There we go. Now, everything works. And you'll see that the buildings are coming at weird different times, so it's harder for me to play the game. And with that, our game is done. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you made a fun game.